All right. I think we are live. We've got our first time with 5 of us on the podcast. We've got Mr. JB Reviews, Jason Samko, Mr. Rocky Road, and the Car Guy Online. I first wanted to start, and obviously got myself, I first wanted to start with, at the very beginning, this is open format. Anyone's got any questions in the comments, leave your comments. You know, we want anybody to feel comfortable to jump in. This whole point of today is more of open format, and we just want to help you guys because it's kind of a crazy world we live in right now, pricing, everything. And the whole point today is we want to share tips and tricks we've used to help us get the best deal for us and our families. So I feel like we should start with Mr. Rocky because he's got a monster truck in the background, and that's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So, today, guys, I think same what he's saying is we just want to kind of cover how we walk into that dealership, and we do get a little preferential treatment because we're YouTubers. But I will say this, I've said it in previous lives. If y'all don't want the sales guys to bother you when you go to a dealership, get a GoPro camera on a stick and walk on the lot. This is the first thing I'll tell you because those salesmen look at you like you're an alien. They do not want anything to do with you when you're walking through the lot with a camera in your hand. So, if you want to go and not be bothered, just tell them, oh, I'm just here to shoot video. They know they're not going to sell anything to you and they'll leave you alone.
That's true. What's your trick, Jason?
It's funny because I just used an article for a video, and they had a sales guy in there, and the sales guy was giving you tactics and things like that. And he said the best way to get a sales guy to avoid you is when he comes over, and this was in an article, I think a Motor Trend or something like that. But this guy says when they come over and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" and say, "Go, life's going pretty good. Going through a divorce, just lost my job, and I'm 60 grand in a hole. But I'm gonna see what I can find on the lot." He said they'll turn around and walk away immediately.
Oh, they don't even know what they handle. It's just awkward. That's
like,
great.
Goodbye.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I mean, this is what we do. I mean, like you, Barry, for example, I've known you for 20 years. I think in that 20 years, I've probably watched you buy, God, it's got to be pushing 600-700 trucks in that kind of time frame. I mean, it's, like I said, it's, we can help anybody that's coming on here. I'm starting to see comments, but like I said, man, this is our world. Don't hesitate to ask. We can sort it out, give you some pointers, some tips, and save you the hassle. Because the biggest problem today is everybody assumes that the dealership holds the cards and that it's their deal because they own the truck. That's irrelevant. There's 1,000 dealerships out there that have the same exact truck. It's your money. You control the deal. We'll show you how.
Exactly. 100%. How about you, JB?
What's that?
What would you say? What do you think the art of the deal is?
Man, that's a tough question. Why'd you put me on the spot like that, dude? Like, I just talk about payload. I don't talk about buying. I'm like the worst person.
Yeah, dude, I know you're a master class smooth talker. You know how to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I think in automotive, I'm probably going to be alone here personally. Most of us should not be buying cars, right? When you think about the terms that we're purchasing these cars at, it's outrageous. Like I just saw 96 months for financing for an automobile. Imagine someone getting a brand new Range Rover or anything in that realm of car and financing it for 96 months. Whew. So the art of the deal is coming to the table with cash, but you can still finance if you want, but you should be able to come there and say, you know what? I don't want to finance this. That is truly the way to do it, is to come there ready to go. And that way you hold the cards. Right.
I agree. I want to come back to that actually, because I think you opened up what is awesome, but I want to give Jeremy the opportunity, because this was what's fun about this group we've got here today. Everybody's got a different perspective. We're covering a lot of the country, number one, geographically right now. But we all come from different perspectives as like brands and use cases. Jason's taking trucks in the swamps every day. Jeremy's got Toyotas that he put 300,000 miles on it. Rocky and I have owned 300,000 cars. There's everyone's got this little unique nuance. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jeremy.
Man, do you want to know? I could talk for an hour. I don't want to suck up a bunch of time, but I would agree with JB on buying a car you can afford is the first thing. And most people, honestly, in today's market, shouldn't be affording things by way of just having the bank own it for you while you temporarily own it, unless you're, a YouTuber like us or someone using it for business. I wouldn't be financing something or leasing something for long terms. That's just me. I like owning my vehicles. So all of my vehicles I own outright, and it's just how I roll. You guys don't. Everybody has their own different take on it, and everybody's in a different income bracket, right? Like I'm in a different income bracket than you guys. And it's just, so wherever you're at, you just have to find that spot that you can live with, not with what everybody else is doing. So with that said, what I do when I'm buying a car, whether it's for friends or family or whatever, I always use something like cars.com. It's just like an aggregator site that, rather than hassling with talking to dealerships, I find that if you get your year, make, model, trim down and you search on cars.com and then expand like to 100, 200 miles, you can find, usually sorted by lowest price, you can get an idea if you're buying a new car or a used car, what's the bottom dollar for that specific vehicle I'm looking for. And then I usually shoot for like 10 to 15% below that when I'm at a dealership. And then I would say Jason didn't say it, but I'm going to say use the Samco method. You call 2 or 3 dealers, you pit them against each other, you tell them which one you're looking at, give them the stock number, say, call me back in 30 minutes or an hour with your best deal. I'm going to buy the one that's the cheapest one. That saves your time, gets you usually pretty close to probably the best deal you could get. And then always remember to, separate your deal. Like if you're buying something, you're looking at the price of that vehicle separate from your trade, separate from everything else. If that's not a good deal, walk, be willing to just sleep on it. Second thing, if you're trading, don't just like get a good deal on the buy and then get screwed on your trade. If it's not a good trade deal, either don't trade the car or walk. So treat those as separate parts of the deal. And I don't buy any upsells either. I don't buy extended warranties, don't buy VIN etching, don't buy any of that stuff. I'm just a value shopper. That's who I am. I don't own RHOs or capstones or anything. So that's just who I am.
No, that's perfect. You touched on a lot of awesome points right there. I want to try to start with the first thing. I think that the number one thing, like JB was saying about holding the cards, it's all about leverage. However, you can increase your leverage, and it doesn't matter by brand. It's how you get the best deal. And I find personally, for me, leverage is all about timing. Most of the time. As a perfect example, Jeremy, Car Guy and I online were talking earlier about this. Now is a tough time if you wanted to say, hey, I want to go buy certain trucks. There's not a lot of great deals other than some great deals on Rams. But you know what there's great deals on right now? EVs. You want to get a Tesla? Awesome deals. You want to get a Ford Lightning, any of those vehicles? Incredible deals. You want to buy a Ford Maverick Hybrid? Probably not going to be a good deal. So you almost have to walk away and tell yourself, this is how I look at it. Like, I'm not picky in colors. I try to be as open-minded as possible so I can get the best deal. But then there's times where you're like, hey, you want a silver RHO? What leverage do you have? The only leverage you have at that point is find a great dealer to work with. And that's where I think dealers like Mark Dodge, you don't have that negotiation at that point. Dude, here you go. Rock bottom price. You don't have to bicker. You don't have to waste your energy on it. It's just like a great price. And I know there's other dealers like that. And I actually saw a comment in the comment section. What I like, I find dealerships like Mark Dodge does not matter what the distance. Yes, any dealerships like that for Ford. My experience, Varsity Ford, Ann Arbor, Michigan is a monster Ford dealership. And I've seen what these guys have done with specifically around Raptor products. These guys don't typically mark up. And a lot of dealerships get greedy on this stuff and they'll charge 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 grand over. If they see you're a good customer, you're going to get an MSRP deal. You're probably not going to be a Joe Schmo off the street. You probably want other vehicles from them because of other people. But that's a type of dealership that you don't have a lot of leverage in some of those vehicles. But I know, Jason, you use a lot of tools also, right? Like to try to get your best deal. Like what's kind of your deal? Like outside of like a Mark Dodge kind of thing.
Well, the Mark Dodge was an awesome experience. I did that on purpose. And like you said, any distance. And that's what I did. Both of us went there to get our trucks. I mean, it was a 12-hour drive for me, to go there and get it. I think it's a great way to go. But this basic, simple thing is I pick the vehicle I want. Then the first thing I do, like Car Guy said, I'm going to go online. I'm going to hit Car Gurus. I'm going to hit Auto Trader, and I'm going to hit cars.com. And I want to go and I'm going to pick how many there is across the whole nation of that trim I want. I'm going to sort the filters to lowest price first. And I'm going to look at some of the deals, and I'm going to go through the first 3 pages, average those out, get some ideas, see where it is, write those numbers down. And then I'm just getting on the phone. Hey, you got this truck right here. I want it. What's the best price you got? I'm buying it tomorrow. Whoever gives me the best one, I'm calling 10 guys. You're number 2. So get back to me what you got. Bye. And I call the next one, tell them the same thing. And they come back, and then next thing you know, an hour later, you got 10 different deals. And now I'm going, okay, yours is really good, but you're offering this, and this guy's offering this, and then a little bit of back and forth. And 2 hours later, you're ready to go buy a car, and you just knocked 17 grand off the price, that kind of thing. So that's,
and you know what the cool part is about. The cool thing about knowing Jason is he actually slowed down his talking of how that actually goes in real life. It's actually faster.
Life's too short to be slow.
Rocky, how about you? I know you go back and forth with lots of brands, so you probably know a lot of tricks.
Yeah, I've bought a lot of vehicles from a lot of good dealerships that are local to me, and they do make deals because they know I buy a lot of trucks, right? And so I'm not going to go overpay for a vehicle. But the same thing that Jason and all of y'all are saying, I use KBB and ADA. Before you even get to the dealer, you need to realistically come to terms with what your vehicle's worth. It's just like when Jason had his Jeep, you go on NADA, you go look everywhere, you get the MMR, you know what the number's worth. I know what my Jeep's worth, plus or minus 2 or 3 grand, right? When you're going to go to a dealer, because they're going to try to negotiate that too with you, right? But also knowing the deal that you're moving into and looking at the truck, and I'll pick a truck out. But one of the things that I do is they're going to hate me for saying this, I don't really like dealing with the sales guy, because I'm one of those persons that wants to deal with the guy that's making the number. I don't want to deal with the person that's not the guy that's making the number. So I will get my way straight to the finance desk, or I'll walk. And usually when I go to a dealership, and because I have vehicles, I don't need to test drive them. Right. I'll test drive them when I'm further down the process. But I tell the dealers that I walk into, and this is like a new dealer that I don't have a relationship with. It's like, I'm here for 20 minutes. I want to speak to the GM or the finance manager. I'm looking at that vehicle. If he's not here, have him call me. I got to go. Right. And that gets me directly to the person that makes the deal. Now, it may not happen for everybody. Right. But when you go to a dealership, the sales guys are trained to get the most money out of you that they can. The GM and the finance guy are more like the guys that want to move the units, the volume, right? And so to me, that's where I get my deals, is I get to the people that are making the deal and making the number. And then we come to an agreement. But I also know the difference between MSRP and invoice on a truck. I know what holdback is, and we'll get into some of this in the video. But so I know how much that dealer's making. And I can tell you on most deals on a trade, a dealer in a minimum wants to make 5 to 6 grand on your purchase and the trade, right? An aggressive dealer wants to make 10 to 15 grand on your trade and the new truck. They don't pay invoice for these trucks, right? Invoice is usually on let's say an $80,000 truck. It's 7 to 8 grand less than MSRP, but generally there's $2,500 of holdback on there that they get. And then there's incentives and other things that are offered at the time. So financing comes into play and all those things come into play. But just kind of knowing all that, walking into the dealer, if you really do your research, like Jason and them said, go to the websites, get the NADA, look at the values, sort them, see who's offering the best deal. And guys, there's a lot of dealers out there. They'll get you in on that best deal, and then they want to charge you $1,000 for nitrogen in the tires, and they want to charge you this for GPS, and they want to charge you this, and then you've got $4,000 worth of fees racked up, and all they did was unload it off the truck and bring it around the front, right?
Never seen have you ever seen a dealership? Well, and you, JB, you're in dealerships all the time back in the service center. You ever come across a nitrogen tank with an air hose on it?
No. They got the little blue caps. And the minute they pull them back into service, they put them little blue caps. And they're going to hate me for saying that. But, y'all, it's real. And we're trying to save y'all money and trying to help y'all with these purchases and to understand, and then also the other step I'll do is I'll look at that vehicle a year from now. So if I'm looking at a 2024 model, I'm going to go look at a 2023 with 20,000 miles or 30,000 miles and see what the trade-in is on that vehicle. So the vehicle I'm purchasing, I want to go look at a year older.
Like a case study.
We don't, as YouTubers, we buy a lot of these vehicles and we worry about how much they lose in value over the term that we have them. We're not so worried about the cost, right? So if you pay X amount of dollars for this vehicle, you drive it for 6 months and then it's worth X, that was the cost for me to own it.
Yep.
So anyway, I'll let somebody else talk, but just kind of some pointers that I find helpful to me.
It's probably fair to say the least amount of time you can spend at the dealer and do your homework up front to get educated on the specific color model options. Like I like to, if I'm starting to look, I go to the dealer website first and I see inventory in stock. And then I see, do they have the color I want? I try to find out as much information first. Most of the time, the salesperson is more of a facilitator to help me just process the transaction, but they're not really selling me on a feature. I already know the feature options I want. I think that also helps you. It's when you let someone influence your decision, you lose leverage, and that comes at pricing. The other thing I found is if you can be open to color and options, especially if it's new, finding multiple places that are available that have that, then you cannot get emotionally attached to only one dealership that has that option. Because as soon as you get emotionally attached, your leverage is gone most of the time. People are just like, oh my gosh, I got to have that at any cost. And then next thing you know, they're squeezing you for, what is that? The glass etching or the 3M door edge protection or some Scotch Guard warranty on a floor mat or something like that. Stuff that like won't ever help you.
Oh, and one caveat to everything I said, and probably everything that everybody said here, is it doesn't always work with Toyota. So I think we should talk about that a little bit later. Toyota's kind of in a different league with their inventory control, and everybody else is kind of easier to negotiate with. But Barry, there's a question in there. I think you truck guys should answer this. AA is asking a question.
What you guys think about avoiding the half-ton? I think that's a great thought. Jason and actually JB's done an awesome series on like heavy towing. But when you start stacking up, like I just did this trimmer series, 150, 250, 350, and Maverick. And when you start looking at some of these features and comparing apples to apples, like as an example, F-150 trimmer, I don't see the value there. I'm jumping to a 250 or 350 because I think you're on better resale, more capability, and it's just going to be a better resale down the road. Like Rocky was saying, it's not about the cost of the vehicle to buy, it's the cost of the ownership. So if you can drive a vehicle for free or not cost you a whole lot for a year, that's a better deal than buying a vehicle for 20 grand less, but it costs you 10 grand for depreciation. So half-ton trucks, the reason I like right now the half-ton is the RHO, in full fairness. If there wasn't the RHO, I'd have a real tough time deciding what half-ton. Maybe I just jump back into an F-250 trimmer or AT4X 2500 like JB's got. That's a great truck right there for resales, the AT4X 2500, in my opinion. What's your guys' thoughts on this question?
Just don't get the AEV edition package.
Oh, yeah, that's big money, dude. 10 grand, isn't it?
I know, and you get none of that money back based off what I see on trade-in value.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think his question is spot on too. And you look at it from, like, you guys are talking about resale value and this kind of thing, and that's all fantastic. But the other flip side of that is a lot of these guys are looking to buy a truck, and they want to buy a truck that they're going to run for 20 years. And in my opinion, the HD trucks are just built tough. They're made to work. They're made to haul. They're made to tow. They're made to take it, and they can take it. They can take the abuse that nothing else can. So if you're, like me personally, if I was buying a truck that I wanted to buy and drive for 20 years and never worry about it, and it would still have pretty good resale after that, it would be a 250. It'd be a F-250 Tremor because I want the off-road stuff, but it'd be F-250 Tremor with the 7.3 would be my go-to 20-year-long truck that I would think that I wouldn't have to worry a whole lot about.
Your Armageddon truck, the truck that's for your lifetime.
Right. Yeah. One inches can hold up to everything. Now, there is a trade-off. You got to look at it from this side too, because we tell people that. But on the same note, how much money am I losing in, say, even 10 years of driving a 250 with a 7.3, or my Power Wagon that gets like, I don't know, like 2.5 miles to the gallon on the highway, you know? And so when you take that, but now compare that to an F-150, a Ram 1500, something like that, a Chevy 1500, in gas costs, in oil changes. The oil change on my truck, I went to go get my free one, which you don't get a free one on an HD Ram now. So I just said, no, thank you. Just rotate my tires. I'll go home and do it myself. But they wanted $189 to change oil on a 6.4 gas engine. I have this stuff here because I've already changed it once myself. I was just going to take advantage of my free one. And I bought 3 sets of the 7 quarts of oil and all that stuff. But I mean, realistically, it cost me $50 in parts, and I did it in 6 minutes in my driveway. They want $189. You can get an oil change on what's that oil change on a 1500? Probably $75, $80, I'm guessing. So when you do all that math over the time owning it, is it worth it?
Yep.
I wanted to comment on that real quick too, and this relates to JB because he's the payload master. I will say this over time, guys. If you're looking for an HD and you need to pull big trailers, 100%, you need to get an HD. Even if you're pulling, 10,000 pounds and you're doing it often, I would get an HD. If you're just pulling 10,000 pounds once every 6 months, like the RHO like we have, it kind of has diesel tendencies because it's turbocharged and it feels like you're towing with a diesel. It's not shifting a bunch of gears. So that's one thing. But the payload thing that I wanted to mention is JB always does payloads in his video. So go to his channel and check out the payloads. But it's just like Jason just bought that Power Wagon that has a low payload, but that truck's going to ride really good. Okay. Yep. So the more payload you see on that door, the worse it's going to ride. So if you're hot shotting and you need that payload, buy it. But in today's market, I'm more than the half ton now, but if I was going to a 3/4 ton, I would definitely probably be looking at like that Power Wagon for that lower payload, or I would be looking at the Ram 2500 with the coil spring suspension.
Yep.
And that's something that rides good, but also provides a little bit more towing capability. Yep.
And that GM's really nice too with that independent front suspension and the torsion bars, man. That's every time I drive one of those GM, at 2500, you're in a comfortable truck as far as going down the road. It feels really good.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And then back to the comment from AA. This is a perfect mindset. What do you guys think about avoiding? Because this is getting leverage. If you can avoid a market that is under pressure for demand and there's not much supply, man, just get out of it. Wait, give yourself time. Because right now, a lot of these markets are just, I mean, as an example, everyone's been ripping on Ram saying, oh, there's tons of inventory. I just went on Mark Dodge's website today. They have hardly any 2025s left, hardly any. And then I think it was just today, if not yesterday, I saw Mark Dodge just posted, Ram just raised MSRP for 2026, mid 2026. Trucks are going up $845. Might not mean a lot, but as the prices are going up, that might be an indication. Do you want to even engage in that, or just give yourself a little pause and just give yourself a break? This is why I've owned a lot of Raptors, man. People lose their mind when they go to buy a Raptor and they're like, this dealership, they're so greedy. They want 10 grand over, 20 grand over, whatever the number is. If you've bought a bunch, you kind of know how to, figure out the game. But if you don't, it sucks. It's not easy to go and get those, like a Demon 170 or any of these special, like your JB or Z06 or a ZR1. It's going to be insane to get these vehicles, hard demand. So I tell everybody, get leverage. However that is, get leverage. Give yourself lots of options. Don't draw a line in the sand. And I know a lot of the people that follow our channels do not like EVs. I'm not an EV fan either, but I'll tell you right now, the deals I see right now in EVs, it makes you think twice. When you can lease a Tesla at $300 a month, or you can lease a new F-150 Lightning for $300 a month, and you're like, you don't tow long distance and you don't need that range, but you want a pickup truck for little things, odds, ends here and there. You can get an F-150 Lightning for $300 a month. This was a few months ago, so it might change a little bit. Or you can go get a regular F-150 for $500-600 a month. That's a big difference in price.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you have to remind yourself of is, when in history have we ever been able to buy a truck, keep it for 6 months, sell it for what we paid for it? Don't worry, I'll wait.
It's the timing of your question is so funny because
Yeah.
Car Guy and I just talked about this earlier today. People live in this fantasy land of the last 4 or 5 years. You could drive a Fiesta and it 5 years later worth more money. But the market is shifting right now, and things are changing where vehicles are now back to depreciating, where you couldn't lose the last 4 or 5 years. Truly, you really couldn't. You could drive anything and make money.
Yep.
But I do want to say this too. I can go here in my small town and I can go get a Platinum Plus today. I can go get a Denali HD today, right? These HD trucks that we had to order and wait 6 to 8 months for, and all of us did it, right?
Mhm.
But I can literally go pick out any of those trucks right here in town today and take it home. So what that tells me, and this is something that I'm concerned about, is the HD market to me is getting a little more flooded. There's a lot more of them on the road. And so
100%.
I think that's going to hurt the resale on the HDs. And I don't want to get too far into the emissions, but if the newer trucks come out with less emissions requirements, then the older trucks are definitely going to take a hit in the value.
You bring up a really interesting point, and that's in a whole discussion in itself, because it's a lot of what ifs, and because you're right, if they do relax things, man, there's going to be 15 years worth of trucks where everyone's like, wow, maybe this new one is like really awesome. The downside is the new truck's probably gonna be 90 grand still, but it is really interesting you're saying that. And then the other thing I was gonna ask, with these HD trucks, are you seeing more gas or more diesel? Are you seeing more low trim level, high trim level, or are you seeing it just across the board at HD everything?
It's high trims. Like I said, Platinum Plus, Denali Ultimate, I can pick out 4 different colors at the local dealership over here.
Wow.
And
I
they're
just did
nice
a video.
trucks.
I just did a video yesterday at a dealership I don't normally go to. It was an hour away from me, a GM dealership, but I was up there and I walked through that whole entire thing there, and there's like 8 Denali Ultimate, diesels sitting right there, 2500s, 8 of them. They're all like $90,000 to $100,000, just lined up right there in the front.
Yep. It's that if people play their cards right, they might be able to capitalize on these discounts.
Yep.
And I think this now ties into a great question of, I want to get to this. How much does a dealership make on a deal? Here's the real question. We've been hearing about this, guys, for over a year now. Have you guys seen this yet? I'm just curious. Just crickets. No, we're not seeing it. Maybe we'll see content reduction on vehicles like we're seeing across a lot of brands, removal of power seats or projector LEDs going to reflector LEDs or secure code disappearing, or I heard one the other day, and JB, you may know this with your Corvette. I guess it was like 2021 or something like this to 2023 on the Corvette Stingray Z51. These things were shipping to dealerships with like either 1 or 2 quarts low of transmission fluid. Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
So you buy a Z51. If you're not familiar with the package, it's basically made for the track. You take it on, it's made for tracks and high G corners. They would ship these things to dealerships with 1 to 2 quarts low of fluid because they found most people never use these vehicles on a track. But if you are going to use it on track, bring it into the dealership and they'll put your 2 quarts of transmission fluid in that you paid for, you just didn't get from the factory. They did this because they found that 95% of the people never use it. And if they can save $30 a vehicle in oil, they're not shipping it. But then people started having transmission problems with this. So it's just wild. These are the kind of things we've been seeing the last few years that are just content reduction. And I don't know if we're ever going to see this 30-35% MSRP reduction. I don't know. Maybe
They will lay people off long before they ever do that. There will be mass layoffs. They will limit production like what Toyota's doing. If Toyota's so good at production, like gauging their purchases, and they're the number 1 manufacturer in the world, but you go to some lots and you're like, why does this feel like they're just riding that edge of almost being out of stock on some models? They're so smart about it. But
the reason I don't like to fall down this rabbit hole of 30-35% reduction is my whole goal is to help people get a good deal on a vehicle. And if I go sell a message that you're going to get 30, 35%, Ram's going to drop their price MSRP 30%, but it never happens and these people hold out, people might miss the deals they could have used and they're never going to get it. And now the price is up 10% the next year. So I bring this point up because our whole goal is to help people get a good deal. I don't think we're ever going to see a 30, 35% MSRP reduction unless we see companies like Car Guy Online said, maybe they're going to go bankrupt. You do really want to buy the brand at that point anyhow. You might see dealerships like, I know Mark Dodge was doing like 19% off, but this was the dealership offering discounts. Ram wasn't dropping MSRP. And so this is important because if people don't understand the reality of the market, it won't help them get the best deal. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Now, I will say right now, like if you can find a 24, because we're talking about what people can go look for, right? Somebody that wants a 100,000 mile warranty, diesel, 3/4 ton truck, there are still some 24s on the lot. And there's some 25s. I think the local dealer here has a couple 24s on the lot. Significant reduction in price. They've got to move those. They've been sitting. And so, I think if you're looking for a deal to be had, don't have to have the latest and greatest. Those were still really good trucks in 24 and 25. And so there's some of those out there that they can go get that are almost at that number you're talking about.
Yeah. You bring up a good point. I just heard of a deal the other day. If you don't have to have the latest and greatest, now granted, this is a really expensive SUV, but just hear me out. The new Navigator is all brand new for 2025. But if you can find a 2024 Navigator left over, you can get $5,000 off MSRP. Plus, if you can get any other discounts, say friends and family, A plan, whatever, that's another, say $7,000 to $10,000. But here's the caveat. The best part of this whole deal, Lincoln was offering 0% financing for 72 months. So now imagine you go get 12 to 15 grand off MSRP. It's an expensive vehicle, but now imagine your interest savings on a $100,000 vehicle over 5 years. You could save $30,000 in interest. That is a big discount, in my opinion.
Yep.
I mean, that could be easily what, $8,000 in finance charges, if not a little bit more.
A year, for sure.
Yeah. Especially on that kind of on that amount financed too, for sure.
Exactly. So those are the kind of deals where I feel like try to capitalize, get that deal. If you're in that full size SUV market, why not try to take advantage of that discount?
Always do the math.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys about 3/4 ton trucks, and the question that guy posted, because I think there was another guy commenting on my channel. He was saying, "Hey, Jason Samco's telling me that 3/4 tons are the way to go right now," and I just pulled up Ram, Ford, and GM on cars.com, sorted by price nationwide, and you can get a crew cab like an SLE 2500, 53,000 4-wheel drive. You can get a 2025 Ram or a 2024 Ram, about 47,000 for the Bighorn package, 2500 crew cab, or you can get a Ford 25 or a 250 XLT 2025 for 53,000. That's a lot lower pricing than I expected to see for 3/4 tons. And that I don't think can you get half tons for much less?
Actually, I don't want to cut you off, but like I use as a comparison a lot, an F-150 Tremor with the Torsen front end on it versus an F-250 Tremor that already has the front limited slip in it. The F-250 Tremor is $20,000 cheaper than the F-150 Tremor. It's an $86,000 F-150 Tremor to get that because of the $12,000 package upgrade. But the F-250 comes with it, and you can get it in an XLT for literally like $60,000, $58,000.
Couldn't agree more. It's so funny. A lot of people don't understand this Ford F-Series trimmer overlap. And I just did literally did a video on this, and you see F-250s cheaper than F-150 trimmer. And you got a truck with twice the payload, twice the towing capacity. Yeah, you might lose 3 miles per gallon, but you also got a super simple gas engine, and the reliability is going to be there. That's that Armageddon truck, 200,000 miles. Or more. You should be more than 200,000 miles. We got Car Guy here. He's like 200K. That's cute. My Toyota's got 400.
Broken in, buddy. Start scoping the cylinders and showing what they look like.
What is the Sequoia at right now officially? Is it 300 yet?
No, it's like 236.
Okay.
We didn't even take it on our last trip. I felt bad. I felt like I was cheating on it. We took my wife's new car.
That's awesome.
I look at these 3/4 ton prices and I think I can't imagine them being worth less than a half ton in 3 to 5 years.
100% agree.
At the same mileage. So
Yeah.
if they're within, let's say they're within $3,000 or $5,000 initial price or whatever you pay for, I mean, they're just, and then you have to ask the question. So everybody says that there's no money, there's no margins in trucks, right? Like, oh, they're not making any money off these half tons that they're selling. Well, if they can sell 3/4 tons for almost what they're selling half tons for, it has to cost them quite a bit more to build a 3/4 ton, right?
I would think so.
It's an
Axles,
interesting
weight, frame,
perspective.
motor.
Yeah.
So maybe there is more margin in these half tons than they're leading on.
Another interesting thing you got to remember, though, just for people that are on this half ton or going to go, I'm going to run out and get a half ton, or I mean a 3/4 ton. Keep in mind there is the factor that many people don't realize till they get home, and that is garageability. If you like to put it in your garage, it may not fit height-wise. So that's something you got to consider. The other one is when you test drive one, take it to Walmart, park it a couple of times, run it over to Texas Roadhouse and see how it is in there. See what it's like to drive with this. You learn really quickly why you see all HD trucks backed into every parking spot, because you can't pull in with it. You got to back in. So understand that what you're getting into and what the differences are. And like Rocky said, some of them you get you get a 3,500 or you get a 2,500, you're going to get some chatter. It's going to be hard to talk on the phone sometimes on some bad roads, blah, 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 as you're going through there. So a little stuff to, realize they're not quite the same as that plush luxury half ton is, but there's no denying the value there. And there's no denying that the prices are good. And there's no denying the durability.
I live in a town where we have medians on every intersection, on every road basically. And I can tell you the RHO, even compared to the HD Denali, the Ford Limited, I've had all of them, right? I can make U-turns in this thing. And it's so nice to be able to make a U-turn without having to back up, just literally, I'm like, it's just crazy. So there are some benefits to the half ton and there are some to the 3/4 ton. But I think, we talk about, if the guy's asking, would you purchase a half ton or would you purchase a 3/4 ton? And you see a lot of people moving to the sport trucks or the limited edition, or they're going to like the new Ram Tungsten. When you buy a vehicle like that, yes, they're more expensive, but they're going to hold their value because there's not as many of them in the market.
That's right.
Like an F-250 Lariat right now. I mean, those things are great trucks, but they're dime a dozen. I mean, an MMR, you can tell they're dime a dozen. The Denali Ultimates, the same thing, right? I mean, there's just a ton of them out there. And so, when you get into the half ton, if you're just buying the Laramie or you're buying the Lariat or something like that, it's a good price point, but it's also going to hurt a little bit more when you try to move it versus buying a level 1 RHO or a Raptor or something like that that's going to hold its value better. But the cost of use is less for us to purchase that truck than it is for me to go buy an F-250 Lariat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. True.
Over 6 months' time, the RHO cost me half the money that the F-250 Lariat cost.
Yep. I could see that.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to be reminded of is the past. I always try to go back and look at pricing on trucks from like the 90s, 80s, whatever, just to see what they're going for today. But something that I've noticed too is we buy our trucks, automobiles like our iPhones. Every year or so, the iPhone is updated, it's getting a new whatever enhancement. And I think that people have kind of adopted that to automotive, where they want to buy a car every 2-3 years. So same thing goes for the half tons. Yeah, half tons are going to depreciate a lot quicker because there's so much inventory out there, and they do build a lot more of those trucks compared to HTs. But the reality is, if you're looking to buy a car for value, then you're buying the wrong thing. Like, you're not buying. You need to go buy you some land. And I think that's kind of where we went off on the rails these last few years. We got so accustomed to buying cars and keeping them for 6 months to a year, and then trading them in and basically getting what we paid for it, and then going out and buying another one. Now we are all at sticker shock where we're like, my goodness, like, these cars are so expensive. Well, they're expensive because of us. We were buying and selling, and now we're upset about the price of the truck, and now we're even more upset about the value we get for our trade-in, right? So
we have to kind of remember cars have always been depreciating assets. So when we go to buy a car, it should never be about value, because value is not there. I didn't buy my Z06 because I was going to go back and sell it for more than what I paid for. I got a really good deal on it, but I bought it because I wanted something that I could have fun with. That was the main goal for that car, was to have something to have fun with. The reason why you buy your truck, maybe you're buying a truck to tow your camper. So it's not about value all the time. I mean, of course, we want to get the best deal we can. But again, cars are back to where they were in the first place, depreciating assets. And we have to be reminded, hey, if I'm buying this and I'm only going to keep it for 3 years, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose a lot of money. So it might be better to think about your purchase as a long-term, goal. Is, hey, do I want to buy a half ton because it's more comfortable, or do I want to buy a HD truck because it's more capable?
And I want to say this to back JB up too. So like, y'all know we have a Hummer EV, right? We leased it. I am really, really glad that I leased that vehicle. Now, if you take what it's worth today, yeah, I'm glad I get to hand the keys back. And it's just, and I just want to say this: if I wasn't modifying a truck, y'all, I would really look at the leases, like to buy
for sure,
because. And if you say, well, I drive too many miles. Okay, let's just put some rough numbers out there. Let's say you buy a $70,000 truck that has a $1,100 payment, right? Just roughly. Let's just throw a number out there, $1,000 to $1,100. And you own that truck for 2 or 3 years, and you go trade it in. It's going to be worth probably somewhere in the range of 52 to 55, right? Something like that, with about 40, 50,000 miles on it. Now look at that in a lease situation, and you can get 10,000 mile leases a year. You can get 15,000 mile leases a year. But think about this: if you buy that vehicle and you only pay a $550 a month payment on a lease, and then you get to hand it back to them without taking a hit in the future, and it's also, if something happens to it under warranty, it's a lease, right? It's like a rental car. It's great, and you're not carrying a note on it also. But the thing is, it's just being able to turn that car back in. And then the ones that say, well, we drive too many miles, guys, at 25 cents a mile, This is what I wanted to say, right? 10,000 miles only costs you $2,500.
Exactly.
So if you turn that vehicle in with 20,000 miles over the lease in 3 years, your penalty is only going to be $5,000. Now take that depreciation on that same $70,000 truck that you owned and you paid double the payments on, right? So you just have to look at both situations. I'm not saying, if you're not going to modify, now if you're going to modify it, put a lift on it and do stuff, then you need to own it. It's your thing. But if it's just a lease and you're just going to buy a 3/4 ton or a half ton and you're just going to drive it, entertain the lease. Look at it.
I agree.
Always do the math.
Always do the math, and every situation is specific, and that's what people will find. Like, how much do dealerships make on a specific deal? It depends on the vehicle and the trim level. What a dealership would make on a Raptor R will be completely different than what a dealership would make at an F-150 XLT. And another comment, another thought for people to think about with leasing, that a lot of people don't put this calculus into their ownership. God forbid you're ever in an accident or your vehicle is stolen and you have a lease. As long as you don't roll in some additional debt into that lease, you're going to walk away from that whole scenario. You're going to literally exit that contract and you're free and clear. Now, let's just say you've had that truck 2 years and it gets stolen or get in an accident where it's totaled out. Insurance company is going to look at what that vehicle is worth at that time, and they're more than likely going to be upside down. And now you have to pay money or potentially with the buyout to get out of your vehicle. And I personally know of someone this happened. This happened to my brother-in-law. Actually bought leased a brand new Audi, and he was actually rolling in some negative equity of a former vehicle. Thank God he did gap protection. I think it's what it's called, gap protection, right? Like when you have debt. He was leaving the delership and someone brand new, like 10 miles on this thing, and someone T-boned him in their brand new Audi, totaled this thing out. And if he wouldn't have had the gap protection on that, he would have been on the hook for that. He was able to walk away from this whole, luckily no one was hurt, number one, but he was able to walk away from that whole deal debt-free in that whole deal. So this is another huge benefit of a lease, is if it gets totaled, stolen, huge walk away.
What do you guys think about the own nothing and be happy strategy of the World Economic Forum and leasing.
That's right there with it. Yep. But on the
Yep.
same note too, you know, as you're talking about that with the leasing and stuff like that, the other thing too is if you got a lemon. Okay, if you got, you know, I mean, and we see that more and more today. But if you got a, you know, say it was a GM62 or it was a Toyota, any of these ones that are, you know, had these issues with the motors, if it's a lease truck, you're really not going to care about it because you're like, just fix it, give it back to me. I'm going to give it back to you when it's done. But it's not you, even though it's yours, you're not that emotionally attached to it. When you buy it and you had the anticipation of running it and it being your truck for all this time and you own it, that hurts a lot more.
Completely agree.
Well,
So-
go ahead.
No, go ahead, JB.
No, last thing I was going to say was, remember what happened back in 2008?
Oh, cash for clunkers?
Well, think about all the people who leased their truck back in 2005. What happened when they turned it in on 2008? Right? They like you said, Rocky, they gave them the keys and ran away, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, this is even a better reason to lease right now because this market is so volatile. Let's just say 12 months from now, the markets went upside down and God forbid, car prices have just taken a crap. You might have lost 20, 30, 40,000 bucks. Whereas if you lease something, you know, you could kind of like walk away from it, you know, at the end of the lease and you haven't taken a credit score hit or a bankruptcy of, you know, something like that. There's a lot of rationale at that point in time. And then you could say, here's another advantage to leasing. We saw a lot of this during COVID. Let's say you lease this and the market goes up. Things are worth more money. People were getting in the last 3 months of their lease and they had 15 grand worth of equity. And now you got this big chunk that you can put towards the next vehicle to buy or lease. So it's a great point.
Or get cash back on that.
Or get cash back.
The first investment we ever made for my daughter was her 2018 Compass. It was a lease. And when we went to get rid of it in 2021, when all that stuff was happening, she was upside. I mean, we called the first dealership, the one that we bought it from. They're like, yeah, no, we don't ever pay more than what, you know, it's just a lease. You just give us the keys. I'm like, no, I know what the value of this thing is. But 6 dealerships later, and they cut me a check. They took the Compass and they gave me a check for $4,500. We took that check for my daughter. She just turned 18 and we had put it into a investment for her, still running today, but they paid that. As soon as that happened, my mom also had a Compass that only had like 5,000 miles on it. It was a lease. And we told her, and she did the same thing, and she got $8,000 back. They paid $8,000 over because of the way that market fluctuation was. My dad's Grand Cherokee down in Florida, same thing, made $3,500 on his lease when he turned it in. So don't think you got to just drop the keys. If the market's high and you got money, you got equity in that vehicle, they'll buy it out. Your dealership may not, but again, always get more than one opinion. You know, like I said, first dealership told me, we don't ever do that. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So lease, you just hand me the keys. No. So.
And if the market value is not in your favor on it,
hand them the keys.
Drive it to the end of that lease and you just put the keys on the table.
Yep. You know, that's another point. I don't want to belabor the point of leasing, but a lot of people, and JB, I know you're probably really familiar at this because I know you know like the background of how this stuff works more than me, but a lot of people don't understand, like, say you've got 3-4 months left on your lease and you hear about lease pull ahead and some of this. Not all the time, but most of the time when you hear about lease pull ahead, they just roll those last 3-4 months left over right into the future. So you're not actually getting out of the payment. You're actually paying for something you're never going to use. So, I mean, if you thought about that, imagine you're like, hey, you know what? You're going to go pay electricity in your house for 4 months and you're never going to use it. So from my experience, the lease pull ahead things are kind of a scam. That's what I've seen. I don't know your guys' thoughts on this.
It's all quiet. Same thing on this. We've never leased a lot of vehicles, but when we were leasing the Ford Explorers, you know, back in the day, we'd lease a new one every 2 years, but it was the same kind of thing. They'd be calling us, hey, we can pull it ahead for you. Well, what does that mean? That means they take the last 5 months or 6 months of payments and they're going to spread it into my next ones. And, you know, they thin it out through there. So it only feels like it's only like 25 or 30 bucks more a month, but you're actually paying it again. You know,
exactly.
Yep.
Paying for something you're never going to use. It's crazy.
And it's like when you brought up the Tesla in the beginning. I mean, right now you're looking at a $300 car, $300 a month to drive a new car that's in warranty. And under that lease, if something happens to it, you go pick up another one. You know,
it's a third of that too. If you look at other brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at like EVs that are from Volkswagen that are the ID4 is basically a Model Y, and it's like $100 a month or something.
Are you kidding me, dude? That's
No.
insane. I had no idea that was that good of deals.
It's Hyundai's doing similar stuff. Like they're all, I think they really want to push inventory in before September 30th. Before
Right,
the
because
EV
after
credit
September
dies.
30th, the EV credits disappear, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So imagine what's left over with this inventory after September 30th. This is going to be wild. Are dealers going to be sitting on these things for years, or are they just going to have to give them away and lose money?
Yeah, I mean, everybody acts like $7,500 isn't that much money. I'm like, that's a lot of. They were using that to. We'll see how much they were using it to mark the cars up. I think that'll be the truth, right? Like,
Yep.
were you marking them up 7,500 because of the tax credit? And you'll see the truth come out with the pricing.
It's a great point. This is where time will tell in this whole thing for sure. Yeah. So I know a lot of people, including myself, you think you got this super expensive vehicle you're going to buy, lease, whatever. And you just think, man, am I getting ripped off by this dealership? Some dealerships like Jason and I and others know they make it simple, like a Mark Dodge, like, hey, this is the price. They're fair along the way. And on that point, I had a really funny situation that happened to me about a week or two ago. I saw a 26 Ram RHO in a dealer lot. I know this is a local dealer to me. And I'm like, oh, I want to check this out. I want to see something specific. And it wasn't, by the way, it wasn't the one that I did the review on. It was a different dealership. And I was like, hey, I'm just picking their brain. I was like, hey, what kind of deal can you do if I order an RHO under MSRP? This guy looks at me like cross-eyed, like, if you lost your mind, we don't go under MSRP. And it was just kind of fun, like going through this process. And I'm like, dude, how many people just get boned by these guys? And then they come up with every excuse under the sun of why they can't do it. But yet you can go to another dealership and save $10,000, $15,000. Well, how do they do it then? If I mean, that's, and this comes to this question of how much does a dealership make on a deal? I'm just curious, take outside of a trade deal, put that all outside of it. What do you think on a standard truck deal? What do you think? I think
with the trade and the new vehicle, at a minimum, they're going to make 5 to 7, and that's a good deal for us. They're real numbers, right?
Yeah.
On the trade and everything else. I think most people that come in the door, and I'm talking probably 70 to 90,000 price point vehicles. If they're under that, then the fraction is going to go down. But I think generally, on the trucks, like we look at these new Denali HD trucks or something, for example, I think the dealer is going to try to make somewhere between 5 to 7 on a just to get it moved, and then they're going to try to make 14 to 15 on an aggressive deal that they can probably get by with.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the MSRP. Just like you said earlier, it's all dependent on trim level, number one. But number two, I believe that the holdback is, and I could be wrong, I think it's like 1% of the invoice price, I believe. And I mean, every manufacturer a little different, but I believe when I did the math one time, I think it was like 1% of the invoice price, which is the holdback. So when I used to sell Toyota I used to sell Toyotas back in the day, and the Land Cruiser, oh my gosh, talk about markup. Land Cruisers could have anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 of markup in them. And back then, no one wanted a Land Cruiser back in, when I was selling them back in 2008, 2009. So we had like $4,000 in dealer cash, not including holdback. So someone could get almost 20 grand off on a Land Cruiser. Absolutely insane. And I've never
opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, Lexus is probably the same. I think Lexus has about similar markups before holdback, probably like 8 grand before holdback. But if you look at a Hummer EV, I want to say when they first came out with those, I don't think they had much more than $1,000 of markup in them.
Yeah.
They had no markup in them, which is kind of like a slap in the face to the dealers. But it's dependent on the manufacturer, and it depends on how they pay out on the car. Sometimes they do put extra cash on the car for the manufacturer, for the dealer, but it's very dependent. I think on HD trucks, the most I've seen is like 7-8 grand before holdback. So you can probably get 10 grand off on a limited Ram in that ballpark. Of course, once you add the incentives, I mean, you're getting $14,000, $15,000 off on that truck. So it just looks better in terms of the spread.
Another dealer I'd probably compare to the Toyota, like you talked about earlier, is probably Cadillac.
Yeah.
Cadillac pretty much does the same thing Toyota does. It seems like they kind of production is they're not just a ton of Escalades sitting on the lot. They make sure, and then there's really not a lot of negotiation on Cadillacs. And I've never found, we bought Escalades for a few years, and you get a couple grand off, but it was never anything significant. So they're kind of like the Toyotas. They kind of hold their price and limit their production, I feel like.
Yeah.
Speaking of great deals, do you know how much a lease payment is on a new Escalade?
Mm-mm.
Dude, you're like $1,500 to $2,000 a month. It's a monster.
Jeez.
Could you imagine that? It's just amazing.
What do you think it is on the IQ and IQL?
Well, I don't even know what the IQL. I'm not even in that tax bracket to even understand what that vehicle is.
It's an Escalade with an Escalade EV.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine. That thing looks sweet, by the way. I think that's
it's
really
double
cool vehicle. Yeah, and actually, I think the new Cadillac, what is it called? The Solis, the new big sedan. Oh my gosh, so gangster. I think it's like $350,000 or $400,000 though. Isn't that insane?
I was going to say, because you guys have been talking about this for quite a bit. For those that don't know, tell them what holdback is so they understand how the dealer makes this and how it affects the MSRP. But we've been talking a lot about holdback, and I'm not sure everybody's going to understand that one because it's not like buy rate, sell rate. It's not like the front end, and then it's not like the back end incentives. There's that little window there for that holdback. But I got a blind, deaf dog that's got to go outside, so I'll be right back. But I'm sure people don't know what that holdback is. We're talking about it, and they may not know what it is. So I'll be right back.
So I think JB, he would be the guy to answer this. But it looks like we might lost him. He might have froze up. But my understanding is holdback that's like a rebate at the end of the year based on volume of what the dealers do with the manufacturer. Is that right? Is that how you guys understand holdback?
Yeah, like cash that they have in the deal. That
okay,
depends. And I think it's how many vehicles they ship, how much volume they do. I think all that is. I think that's what builds that holdback number. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like if they ordered 20 trucks, the amount of holdback on that group of trucks. The
okay.
way I understand it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just know that number is always there. It's,
Yeah.
And it's probably going to vary drastically between manufacturers and models and everything. Like you guys were saying, you see such a discrepancy between the higher trims in trucks versus the middle or lower trims, and
yes.
You got the same power train in a Toyota Tundra that costs $47 and then one cost $83,000. And it's like, wait, it's the same engine, same transmission. All the expensive things are the same.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the seats and the fancy trim cost me 40 grand. Okay. Or 30 grand,
Well, I think it's going to be fun seeing what Ram does with this new TRX. I mean, the transparency on pricing of where they see their value in the market is going to be wild because it's going to have all the exact same electronics, RHO to TRX. They're going to have all the same suspension. It's going to have the same rear axles, transfer case, but it's going to have a different motor and transmission. And what does Ram Stellantis think that's worth? Yeah. In my mind, I keep thinking 15 grand tops. It's like they're already paying for the original motor. Now you're just paying that premium on top of it. But I think people's minds are going to be blown when it's probably going to be more like $30,000, $40,000 more is my guess.
I would say they can probably expect it. I mean, y'all know I'm going to be a TRX order day one. But if you look at the 23s and 24 TRXs today, used market, I mean, these things with
$80,000,
they're 80, 90 G's.
Yeah, for sure.
24. So they're not going to be at that price point.
I agree.
26, or 27, right? It's going to be anywhere. Probably, I would guess it's going to be north of 110, 115.
I figure it's going to depend on the horsepower.
It's going to be Raptor R pricing is what.
115. Yep.
You're right there with it because they're going to try to compete with them. And that's where it's going to sit. Your base maybe 99, which we're hearing, but they're going to have more for the packages. Level 1's going to bring you up, 8, 10 grand. 37 package, I'm sure they're going to offer that. That'll be a nice 3 or 4 grand. I mean, they're going to add those things to that truck, I feel like.
For sure. Mr. C. Williams, I just got 12,000 off on a 25 Ram, 2,500 2 weeks ago. That's awesome, dude. I think that's like great. Because there ain't no telling how things are going to shake loose with certain geopolitical stuff going, because those discounts could disappear potentially in the future. And you nailed the market right there in a huge discount.
And I think you got the new redesigned engine. You just got the new 8-speed. I mean,
exactly.
To get that much off on a truck that just hit production,
just came out,
upgrades. I mean,
awesome. And Jason and I have talked about this a bunch. I sort of regret in ways selling my Cummins, my 19. That truck was awesome. It was if people have, and I know Rocky, you've done this. Was your last truck a crew cab or mega cab?
Out of mega cab.
Okay.
Or megas.
Crew cab Ford versus crew cab Ram. Dude, the Ram feels like a mid-sized truck compared to the Ford. When I have to back that thing into the garage, this Ford, it feels massive. Parking it, maneuvering it. So if you're just needing that HD capability, you're not needing 6-inch longer cab, 6-inch longer bed. I prefer the Ram 2500 in so many ways better. Number one, it rides and drives way better. The Ford drives okay. The Ram drives, you don't get all the feedback in the steering wheel. Here's a question I was waiting for someone to ask. And I was just literally talking to a car guy about this earlier today. If you had to go buy a 1500 right now, what would you go buy? I'm just going to start and say this right now. I think it's a total crapshoot. I think you could have a great experience with any brand, or I think it could go terrible. And I don't even know the answer. Because
you're exactly right. I mean, you could have you see guys with General Motors and no problems up to 100,000, and then you see guys with 7 miles and they have transmission valve bodies going out. It's
exactly.
Like you don't know. Toyota's gotten better. They're probably the 25s are probably okay, but the 26s would be a little safer on the engine side, but they've been a little less. GM made Toyota's engine problems look like child's play. Like their 6.2 problems are so many more problems. I thought Toyota was bad. It was like, oh man, this is terrible. And then the 6.2 issues came along and it's like, no, this
General Motors said, hold my beer.
Yeah. Toyota's probably like, oh, thank you. Take
and then Ford says, hey guys, we're going to beat you on recalls.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to answer this question too from Sam Storm. To me today, if I'm buying a 1500 and I'm wanting, like me, I like the new kind of all the gadgets and all those things. It's going to be the Denali Ultimate 1500 with the Duramax. I'm going to avoid the 6.2, or it's going to be the RHO. Digital rearview mirror, massage seats, and hands-free driving in that truck. And that truck is going to be one of the most marketable trucks because it has those features where the others do not.
Very solid.
What you just brought up was a good point too. We should probably ask the Samstorm guy, like, what are you towing? Are you towing anything? Yes or no? Do you need payload? Do you have kids? Like if you got 4 kids, you're probably going to need a bench in the front. There's all these variables when you're going into buying a truck. What's your budget? Like there's so many things. Like a Denali is double what a Tundra
tradesman would be.
Is,
yeah. Well, so, and then how flexible are you on brand? Like I'm the type of person where I'm just chasing value. I'd consider any brand. It's what is the best value for me. I'd drive a new Tundra. I really would. It's just value based for me.
And in the 1500 world, they're all so the same by competition. And given the fact it's the most common bought truck, that 1500 F-150 realm, they're all so close to each other in every aspect, where if you get into the HD world, there's a light year difference between a F-250 and, like you said, and a Ram 2500 or a GM 2500. And then there's even in the midsize. A Ridgeline, believe it or not, has way more interior room than every other midsize there is on the market, and so you got to weigh all these, if you're in the midsize world, drive every single one of them and see. If you're in the full or the HD world, definitely drive all 3 and see. In the full size world, like you said, chase the value, chase what you're at. They're all towing within the same couple specs of each other. They got the same features. They all got the same size cabs. They're all very similar somehow in there, in that one market.
That goes back to what price point fits you. I mean, an SLE with the little Duramax in it is what that truck's probably 25,000 cheaper than the Denali,
Yep.
They can be had for probably what, 40s, mid 40s, I would say, somewhere in that area.
Like a Turbo Max or something.
Yeah. Turbo Max. If you're not towing 10,000 pounds regularly, or I'd buy Turbo Max in a heartbeat.
100%. I truly think that's an awesome little engine. I see this comment.
People don't want the 4-banger stigma. That's the problem with it.
That's the thing. But you know what? It's easy for me to say that because I'm so used to boosted 6-cylinders for like 8-10 years now. I'm past that. Because it's like I like the performance of it. So do I want sound, or do I actually want movement and performance? I'll take the performance. But it also depends completely on what you're after. I see this. My husband. Go ahead,
Only
Rocky.
me. Sorry, you see, only me just posted that. I just like a cheap pickup. Don't forget about tearing it up. There's a lot of guys. And it's like Jason. I mean, you're taking
Yep.
that. You got your 2,500 out in the swamp. You're using it every day hard. You're not as worried about scratches. You're not as worried about keeping it looking nice. So it's a different. It's a different situation for everybody, whether they want that or they want something that they're going to keep pristine. It's going to be a highway truck.
That's a great question for all you guys, because you guys all use your trucks for truck purposes. But what do you guys think? How many people actually need a truck that are buying trucks in today's world? Honestly,
20% of a half ton. Yeah. This is why if people are on a budget, think outside the box. If you're that person that really doesn't need a truck that you're towing 10,000 pounds all the time, do consider a Turbo Max. It's an awesome engine. I really do believe that. Or consider an EcoBoost, the small EcoBoost. I think that's the best one of the EcoBoost, my opinion. Or the standard output Hurricane. I think that if people open their mind to this, it might save them a little bit of money and better fuel economy. Because there's another downside to a good sounding engine. It sounds the best when you're driving it at wide open throttle, which means you're burning more fuel. So if the engine never sounds really great, you're kind of incentivized to not rev it up.
I tell you, if you live at elevation too, man, get a boosted engine. I know
100%.
Well, you can get rid of it before warranty's up if that makes you feel better. But
exactly,
we just went up to Grand Lake and like over 12,000 feet, and we had the little boosted 4-cylinder in my wife's Volkswagen Atlas, and that thing ran better than my Sequoia does up there. But you're at 10 or 12,000 feet driving, you're getting like 20-30% more power out of the engine.
Yeah, JB, what's your elevation where you're at?
I'm at 5,000 feet at my house, but
so even all of JB's tests, that's something to consider. All of it, turbo versus naturally aspirated. He's at elevation.
For sure.
Thing he's doing.
Yeah. But back to Jeremy's question, or Car Guy's question he just had on there, when he was just talking about that, how many people need a truck. But here's the other flip side of that. So if you can spend, say, $45,000 and get a Silverado with a Turbo Max, a crew cab, 4-wheel drive, or something like that, or whatever it is, even an XLT, an STX Ford, but compare that to what would be comparable in an SUV world? Equinox, I'm guessing, maybe Explorer.
For a full size?
What's that?
For a full size?
Price-wise of value of SUV versus that. And what I'm getting at is, I think a lot of people, myself, I raised all my family when we were raising kids was 100% in full-size trucks, but we'd rather drive it. We had the Explorers too, but it was that fact of having all that cab room and that bed space for bicycles, for suitcases, so even if they're not using them like for truck stuff, like hauling drywall or hunting through the woods or things like that, I think a lot of people just love that big room and space in there. Yeah. They got a lot in them.
I'll tell you what,
the stigma of a minivan.
I was walking through the parking lot the other day, and there was a Chevy Trailblazer, and the wheels, and these things usually don't catch my eye, but I was like, that is a pretty good looking little vehicle. For a mini SUV, it's a good looking car. I thought the wheels looked great. Everything on it looked really good.
So here's a good question. One question on the Duramax 3-liter. Is it necessary to drive 30 miles per day, or can you drive 15 to avoid issues with particulates? Also, is transmission better? So the transmission's the same 10L. Is it 10L80? I can't remember the specific, but it's the same transmission across 5.3, 6.2 with some basic nuances. But as a 3-liter, where diesel gives you the best efficiency of a particulate is keeping constant heat in it. You're going to get more passive regeneration, not active regeneration, which then you get better fuel economy. You have less issues. So I think the Duramax rewards you if you're someone that drives a lot. And a funny thing about the 3-liter diesel Comet is we were with some friends this weekend. He bought a 2022 Duramax 3-liter diesel in a Trail Boss 1500. Bought it brand new. Drives a lot of miles. It's got 96,000 miles on it. Said he loves it. It's been amazing. And then all of a sudden, it's just running a little odd. Before the trip, dropped it off at the dealership. He's got a few months left and 4,000 miles left of powertrain warranty. The cam is wiped out in this motor. Now, this is before the LZO engine that just came out in 23. This is the LM2 motor. he's like, dude, I'm just going to get this thing fixed and I'm done. He goes, I'm worried about once you get to miles on this. And the thing that was interesting is what the service guy asked him. This person might not really know some of the stuff, but I'll just share what they said. They said, do you tow a lot with this truck? And he goes, well, the truck's got 96,000 miles. We've probably towed a enclosed aluminum trailer that's probably about 5,000 pounds, probably 45, 50,000 miles, half of its life. Now, this guy keeps up on maintenance, takes care of it, and it's mostly highway, which is the best thing for this little 3-liter diesel. And the guy's like, oh, you shouldn't tow that much with this engine. And he's like, are you kidding me? He's like, exactly. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And so he's a little spooked. He's going to get this thing fixed. But here's the part that's frustrating about this. They're saying it's going to take 2 to 3 months for him to get cams for this engine to be fixed. And they don't even know if it needs a short block engine, which it might at that point. They find it needs a whole new engine. And I'm like, dude, if I had to wait that long, I would never buy that brand ever again. And Jason, I know you've made his comment a bunch about GM issues with like warranty stuff, right? People taking forever at getting parts and stuff.
All brands.
Is it
doesn't
all
matter
brand?
if it's
Okay.
Jeep, Ford,
Okay.
every single one of them are just taking forever.
Just so frustrating. So yeah, so my opinion, get the Duramax diesel if you plan on doing distance towing or long drives. If you're just driving around in the city and stuff, I'd agree. I don't think you're going to see the benefit of fuel economy at that point, and I don't think you're going to see the benefit of the vehicle. I think there's like the Turbo Max would probably be a good option at that point, and it's a lot cheaper and
Save
less
like
maintenance.
$10,000.
Yeah, because that's a great point. I've noticed with General Motors, they do these goofy things where if you want the 3-liter, sometimes they force you into like a trim level higher, or they do these things. And next thing you know, if you're just trying to get just that engine, you don't need fancy interior, you might be out $10,000 just to get that engine.
Yeah.
Buy a 2nd-gen Tundra, you won't have to worry about your cams.
Yeah, that's true. That Armageddon truck.
Yeah, that thing. It's like, have you ever watched Diesel Creek on YouTube?
No,
He revives these old Caterpillar dozers, and they're like
that's cool.
20 years old, and they haven't run, and they've got like elm trees growing up through their buckets, and he'll get the little pony motor started and then fire the diesel up with like 20-year-old diesel in it. And like, yeah, nothing's built like that anymore.
No, it is crazy. You know what? I do think I've seen this now where there's like trees growing through the cab and stuff like that. And they're just, they're getting filters ready. And yeah, that's incredible. You're right. I can't imagine what people are trying to do with these things in the future. Could you, I mean, seriously, it's going to be old Toyotas and Ford Godzillas, people probably trying to get ready. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've got family members on a ranch, like actual work trucks, and they've got tons of ranchers up in Northwest Colorado. They're running 90s Chevys and Fords and
100%.
in some of the early 2000s, and they just fix them because they still make parts for them. And they've got like 2 90s Chevys, long bed, extended cabs, and then they'll have like maybe a 6-liter, like 2014 or something, something like that, GM.
Yep.
And just because those 6-liters were kind of like boring, not a lot of power, but you just
Reliable.
Yeah, you just don't have to worry about them.
The odometers quit working at 300,000. They're still going.
Yeah. Dude, that was the generation
not on.
GM.
You're confused.
That
You're
was
like,
the
hey,
generation GM just crushed it with reliable vehicles, man.
Yeah.
All across the board. The 5.7 back in the day, the 6-liter. It seems like the 6-liter is just, in my opinion, I'm not a big GM guy, but that's just a motor that runs forever. It just sure seems like it.
You can go to any local track. They're running GM engines and
I believe it.
Yep.
Yep.
No DFM.
Yeah. And then that ties to the point what Jason said, half-ton versus 2500. Most of these 2500 series trucks don't have DFM.
Yeah.
Mine does.
Yours does, for real?
Got MDS.
Oh, no way. So Ram ruined that truck now.
It's been that way for years, but yeah, it sucks. I use a tow haul mode when I'm off road anyway, so it's not happening then. And then I use, but if I hit the gear limiter and I kick it into 8th, you know how you can limit the gears?
You can turn it off.
That turns it off immediately too. But yeah, MDS and an HD truck and a 6.4. It's like, what are you thinking? I don't understand it, but yep.
Think about how much money they're saving you, Jason.
Right. Yep. I think if I look right now, because of all the time in the swamp, I literally, if I were to walk out in my car or truck right now and hit it, I'll bet it shows something like 6.5 MPGs right now.
Hilarious. So check this out. So I'm 58, BS Osborne. Ram was traditionally below Chevy, Ford. My dad was a Chevy guy on trucks, Toyota cars from mom. Is the Ram 1500 now more reliable with the standard output Hurricane? LOL. I'm a leather interior kind of guy. So my issue is actually not with the Hurricane engine. I think the motor's solid. The issue is everything. I mean, I'm probably going to upset some people, but I think it's everything bolted to some of these 25 trucks. This new electrical architecture is what's plaguing a lot of these issues right now. And in full fairness, I think people are going to have their minds blown a little bit when this 26 Hemi comes out and they start having electrical issues with the 26 Hemis. It's not, and then in full fairness, if they didn't change the manifolds or the Hemi tick, that issue is still going to be there in the Hemi. So then you're going to be like, man, I wish I got a Hurricane. I don't have any issue with the Hurricane. I think the motor's awesome. I'm still yet to hear of anybody having a real engine issue in a Ram 1500 with the Hurricane, standard output or high output. So that's my take on that engine. If of the boosted engines right now out, I think it's a really good option.
I'm going to second that on the Hurricane. But the one thing that I will say about the Ram that not a lot of people mention is that 8 HP transmission.
Phenomenal.
Guys, they have put that behind. I mean, you look at the 8-speed behind the Hellcat engines, you look at the 8-speed behind, and people beat on them. I mean, have you seen those cars? You've seen what they do to those transmissions? That 8-speed is probably one of the most proven transmissions. I don't think I know anybody that's lost a 8-speed transmission in a Hemi Ram or, the 5.7, and so you are taking a little bit, with the standard Hurricane. I love my Hurricane. It runs like a little diesel, so I'm impressed with it, and I've kept it for longer than I've kept any vehicle. But I just wanted to bring that transmission up because I think a lot of people are forgetting that 8 HP in that thing. And you compare it to the other brands that are having the 10 speeds that are not having so much luck with that. So it's not just all the engine. I bring the transmission to your equation and what you're thinking about. I would not be scared of a Ram 1500 with a standard Hurricane. But I'm not going to say that you might not get a lemon. You might not get one that's bad. Every manufacturer has some kind of little issues or problems. So,
yeah, there's no perfect option right now. I got a question for you, JB. So you've been doing this heavy towing half-ton series, which is awesome. For people that haven't seen it, it's awesome. And I was watching your 6.2 video. The 6.2 did really well. The gas 6.2. I was pretty impressed by that. It really, especially at elevation, I just did not expect those results. Do you recall how the 10 speed behind the GM versus the Ford 5.0 or the Hurricanes, temperatures, performance? Did you see any standouts in that, or something where you're like, oh man, this was a big yikes?
Well, yeah. So the 6.2 did amazing. As far as the transmission temp goes, it was probably running around 180, 190, I believe. I did a 5-liter Coyote too, 2 weeks ago, I believe it was.
Saw that.
And that one did pretty good too, all things considered. Now I have 3 tests I have not posted yet. One was the Eco Diesel. Can't wait to post that video. I
own one of those, so I'm laughing.
Wait. You're talking the Eco Diesel?
Huh?
You froze up. You're saying one was the
No, I didn't freeze up.
He paused
a little bit.
You paused.
Yeah, I paused. I had to pause for a second because it's bad.
Oh, this could be great.
That's gonna be a good one. But I also, I'm giving too much here, but I did an Eco Boost, and I don't know what's different about this year, but I've been doing some research with density altitude, and it's been consistently 9,000 feet this year. And the Nissan Titan that I did, I wasn't looking down, but I almost overheated that truck too. And the Hemi and Hurricane were over 240, 250, and someone even pointed out that the coolant was fluttering.
Oh geez.
And then
You're saying the coolant was 240?
Yes.
Wow, that's hot. Yeah.
But
Dang.
even with the diesel engines, the cooling system on these trucks are good. They're even struggling. The fans kick on before I even start the 6% grade. So there's something different this year versus 24 and 23 when I did these tests, because everything is getting hot. Everything.
I'm gonna back you up on that because I just put an iDash, JB, in this high output Hurricane, right? and I'm monitoring my engine coolant temp, and it's interesting. It's it's not the thermostat holding it. It's the volume of water that's going through it, I believe. Why they've got these heads cranked up so much, but I'm literally running 196 to 197, just idling, driving around town slow. But when you get in that thing, it'll peak up to 220, 225, and it does it really fast.
Yeah.
And so I fear if you were to stay on the floor doing an elevation test, pulling a trailer like that, I don't know how you're going to cool it. I don't know how you're going to keep it cool.
Well, see, that's the thing. The trucks have all been cutting power. So I've noticed. So for the EcoBoost test, I'll probably post it in a couple of weeks, but I had to stop the test. That's how bad I don't know why. First time ever, and it wasn't like it was an old EcoBoost. It was I think it was a 21 or 22 trimmer, and I think it had less than 50,000 miles on it. So it's not like these trucks are old. They're fairly new trucks. And I did a Ford Lightning of all trucks, which overheated, and I could not complete the test. I had to slow down.
Have you checked your tires, your brakes on your trailer? You've been running around full brake on?
Maybe, I don't know, but
what's interesting is how hot they're letting all of them are letting these new engines get. I mean, back in the old days, 210, 215, now it's like they're okay operating around 210, 215, 220, which is interesting because, I was looking at that temp going, wow, that's surprising.
So the transmissions I'm hearing and seeing the same thing.
This comment makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
Read it, Barry.
And then Jason started
I looked down. I'm like, what? Oh, smash!
Oh, that's so funny. I was good until he started laughing, and I'm like, I can't contain it.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
So do you guys ever watch TFL's towing videos up the Ike?
Up the dirt road?
Yeah.
And the dirt road?
Yeah,
and
the dirt road one's hard.
All these new trucks are, this dirt road is like, I don't know, it's like 40 miles from me. You see a theme. It's like, let's just eliminate all the external cooling. And then their excuse is, well, all these fluids can handle it, guys. Don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, time will tell. Let's see how this plays out. Because when you're running your transmission at 270, good luck. I don't care what sort of magical superhero fluid you think is in this thing. It's gonna burn up. And I just can't wait to see all this unfold.
Yeah.
So I towed, it was 94 degrees out and humid. So I don't know specifically how that messes with like the DA and all that jazz, but we had our RHO maxed out, 8,200 pound trailer, 93 degrees, full maxed out. This is straight flats in the Midwest. And I was watching my coolant going down the highway, hitting constant between, it would drop down to like 205, 207, but then back up 217. If I go up an incline, hit 219, 221, 223, which it wouldn't stay there long. It dropped down, but I kept thinking, dang, if I was out west, it would have to pull power because I would be maxed out. But then I look, I'm like, I see my trans temp, 187, no big deal.
That's pretty good.
We did our Navigator, same exact thing. It doesn't show coolant. Trans temp, 223 going down the road, just straight flat, 223. That's just, it's literally like 40 plus degrees hotter than that ZF8 speed.
And what's interesting is usually the trans temp is tied to your oil temp. And
because the coolers shared, is that how it works?
You know what I mean? And so if you're sitting running 220 on your trans, generally your oil temp's running 220. And I always thought that the Fords ran pretty warm, when towing that fifth wheel I had. You get in my, so take the Ford and I'm towing that trailer. It's 98 degrees, running 70, 75 miles an hour down the highway. I'm sitting there running 218 to 226, and every once in a while I'll pull over, let everything cool down for about 30 minutes and then hit the road again. But I take the same Denali Ultimate, pulling the same trailer and the same load, 175 on the trans.
Yep.
All time. 175, 185, 190 is probably the hottest I ever saw that trans.
I believe it. I swear I saw my Super Duty going down the highway, the high output diesel, not towing a thing. It'd be like 200 degrees, 205. So a lot of stuff, negativity, this, that, and the other. What can we be excited about in 2025? What's a positive thing? I'll start with one. I I think we're going to see some price reduction-ish, more maybe in 25. We've already seen it on 25 model year Rams, and it sounds like Rocky's seeing it with some HD stuff. I think the Hemi coming back, I think will offer more customers more options. That's a good thing. Curious your guys' thoughts.
I think you're talking about 2026s.
Actually, let me change this. It should be actually 2026 because it's technically 26 model year. Now we're getting into. Yeah, you're right.
Barry, you're not excited for Wave Runner blue color in the Tundra? That's not.
You know, I think with Toyota, what I'd like to see is, they've made some nice changes to their interior. I like that. I'd like to see Toyota recover from like the reliability thing, get back on top in that area, because all that's going to do is push all the other manufacturers to do the exact same thing. I also would like to see Toyotas like start allowing customers to order vehicles the way they want. That's such a turnoff for me. I can't handle it. Like my ego gets in the way with that. I can't stand it.
So back to that question you had up about the 2026 Tundra, that's probably the only thing I would be excited about is if Toyota could get, which the rumors are, I can't really say what the rumors are, and I can't say information that I have from an insider, but there's a real high probability that the issues will finally be resolved. And if they are with the engine, because there was still like a couple, very small percentage of 2025s that still had the main bearing issue in the engine, which everybody's like, what's going on? This is 3 years in, but there's reason to believe the 2026s won't have that issue anymore, and pretty solid information behind it. It's just, if they can prove it and you don't see failures, they have a reliable 10-speed. Like you don't see Toyota transmissions going down. They've never had, their ASINs have always been solid. So like you said, if that pushes GM, Ram, Ford to get everything figured out, if they can get back to their reliable ways, that will probably push, because their sales are kicking butt for the Tundra. They're better sales than they've ever been multiple years in a row. So I think they can push the other manufacturers to get better.
You guys ever heard about the V8 coming for the Tundra? Have you?
The V8?
Yeah.
No.
Someone did a video on it today, actually.
I saw you. I didn't watch it yet, but I saw it pop up in my newsfeed right before I got on here. I saw you guys think it's the V8 coming back to the Tundra.
Yeah, I did a quick video on that because I think Toyota has a really good opportunity, because they still produce a 5-liter for the Lexus brand, so they could potentially bring that one back to the Tundra, in my opinion, and then have the 10-speed transmission, having the higher gearing out back. I think that engine could probably get better fuel economy compared to the twin turbo.
The 5-liter engines, no matter what they've ever been in, the thing that bugs me about them, whether it's the Coyote, I'm going to get flamed for this, but I don't care. I've had boats and everything with the 5-liter. I absolutely hate it for a truck purpose towing. It has no torque. You have to rack the crap out of it. Yep. I want my torque like that. The 5.7 in the Toyota had that torque real low.
Yep.
Like, 1,800, 2,000 RPM. I don't know why people are so into 5-liter V8s for trucks, but that's just me. I would never buy one.
My dad had that 5.7 in a Toyota, and the weight to horsepower ratio in that truck, it was a rocket. It was fast. And he had that truck almost 80,000 miles, y'all, with not one problem. Not one problem. I mean, that's, I'm not a Toyota guy, but I drove that truck and I felt like I was in a race car. I mean, we burned the tires off of that truck every time we were driving it. I mean, we just, it was just fun to drive.
I'd love to pick JB's on this question, because you just did a 4th gen 5.0 towing, and Jason and I have towed a ton with 5.0s. And I love Jason. He's a good buddy of mine, but his first 5-liter was the worst experience of a 5-liter ever. Just hearing that motor rip at 4,500 RPMs for like 4 hours straight towing a trailer. I'm like, dude, I would never own one of these things. It had no low. It'd be awesome truck if you love to spend your time at a 1/4-mile track, or if you just love ripping high RPMs. But if you use a truck as a truck, it was the worst V8 for low end torque. But I know they've made changes. And I'm curious what you saw in that 5-liter versus the 6.2 with that low end torque.
Yeah, so the truck that I tested with had a 331 rear, which is
rough.
It was a little rough. So I I found that it was gear hunting a little bit too on the test. But the 5 liter is a fighter, man. Like that engine actually impressed me because it outperformed the Hemi and the Hurricane standard output. And I can't remember the mile an hour it got to, but it definitely it was not too far off from the 6.2.
Yeah.
And that's what really shocked me was it's a fighting engine for sure. And
But
maybe it's speed.
Does it have to do it though at like 5,000 RPMs where the 6.2 is doing it at a lower RPM, or did you find they're very similar?
Well, it's a gas engine, so I mean,
Just gonna rev.
Yeah, it's just gonna rev. And of course,
Yeah.
when you think about it, the manufacturers gave up on the V8s 10 years ago, 15 years ago, really.
Right.
And we haven't seen much headway with those. Now, obviously, with the 5 liter, I didn't mention this in the video because maybe someone else can do something on it, but I wouldn't mind seeing a hybrid behind, or not behind, but alongside of a V8 from Toyota. I think that they could do something like that because that could make up for the torque. Right.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, it's a really interesting point.
Because Jeremy, you're right. I'm not gonna lie. Like the 5 liter Coyote does not make any torque. And that course, I looked at the horsepower specs for the GSF and the RCF because they did an update from the ISF, and I want to say it was 371 pound-feet of torque back in 2008, and then in 2015-16 it was 389, I believe. So it doesn't make as much torque, and of course that's at high compression.
Yeah.
So once you lower the compression, and of course Toyota people don't do premium fuel, I mean you're probably looking closer to 370 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Barry,
Rocky, I was going to ask you a question.
Touch on what we can be excited about for 2026. And I know that y'all know I've had Ford, GM, Ram, all the brands. I rotate around, but I'm going to say this year, I feel like every other brand is just kind of replicating what they did last year and the year before, even in the HDs. Not a lot of changes. Ram did some changes this past year on the adding 8-speed and revamping the Cummins. That was a really nice truck. I had one of those. But I have to say, I'm pretty excited for Ram this year. And it's because, for one, they're things that we've heard, right? This is not all factual, but we're pretty much hearing that we're going to be able to get a 392, which is a 6.4, with that 8 HP and a 1500. That truck right there, that truck's going to be the tow monster. It's going to be in the middle. It's going to be, and if they make that truck reasonable and make it where you can get that 392 in like a Laramie, don't just put it in the tungsten. Don't just put it in the Laramie. Put it where people can afford it. Y'all, that 392, we had it in the Jeep Rubicon. That thing will run like a rocket. And that transmission strong and that 392 strong. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited that Ram is, they're bringing the TRX back, which is great. And we're going to have more horsepower, which that's already known. I think this Saturday at the, they're going to have the deal. And they're supposed to bring them out. They'll probably say a number hopefully this weekend. But not only that, they're talking about putting the Hellcat engine in the street truck, which means that you're possibly going to be able to get that engine in a tungsten or limited. Now, I can tell you the difference. Okay, the TRX and you had the RHO, Barry. You've got 35s. It's a bigger, wider, heavier truck. Okay, I went and drove a tungsten with the high output Hurricane.
They rip.
Dude, they rip. I mean, that thing's
fast.
crazy power on that thing with the street tires on it, right?
Yep.
So if they're going to, even putting a 392 in that truck is going to be really nice. But if you take that and you put I don't know if they're going to, I don't know if they're going to do it, but if they put that in the street truck, which we're talking about tungstens, limiteds, you'll be able to get that Hellcat engine. That's going to be a rocket. And so, I think Ram is where I'm excited for 2026 because they're making a lot of moves and they're changing it up, where I think all the others are kind of just doing the same thing. And that's just my opinion on it.
Ram is the only brand doing anything fun right now. That's a reality. They're bringing some fun right now. And yeah, they're struggling with things. I get it, but it's fun. And I agree. Like a 392 Ram 1500, don't even make it an off-road truck. I think, in full fairness, I think the off-road thing is kind of starting to get played out. Give people more of a truck that is a better daily. You're probably going to get better fuel economy, going to ride better. What Ford did with the Lobo, but put the 392 in it and make it they're going to sell a ton of them. It's going to be affordable. It won't be as fast as a high output Hurricane, but who cares? It's going to sound awesome, and it'll be reliable, easy to work on, port fuel injection. Yeah. One thing I was going to ask Rocky is, so you have just recently drove some Raptor Rs and TRXs like myself, and we're talking about that low end power, you know, that feel, because that's a big deal. The one thing that I noticed about my Raptor R when I had is it never gave me that visceral raw feel that you get from the TRX. Is it faster on paper? Yup. Is it faster on the street? Yes. Is it faster in the dirt? Debatable. But if you're looking for a feeling and sound and rawness, the TRX it's so much more visceral and fun than the Raptor R. It's just straight up. It sounds better.
To answer your question, and one, it's from your 40 roll, right? It's from, you know,
from a dead dig, that push rod supercharged V8, it just hits so hard.
When you're doing 40 and you hammer down on it, I haven't driven anything that I feel better, more power behind, and the supercharger whine in that engine, and those engines are proven. You know, the R's, I think they've done really well too. I think they're a really nice truck. Now, one of my buddies just bought an R. He's actually a follower on my channel, and he's getting 16 to 18 miles per gallon in an R that has the stock 37s on it, running 75 down the highway. That's pretty competitive. I don't think that the TRX is going to do that. I know that even with 35s, it doesn't do that. And so, you know, I'm going to give credit to the R. Yeah, it doesn't have the massage seats. It doesn't have the digital rearview mirror. It doesn't have a lot of the features that I'd like to see. You know, if Ford would add those features, I'd definitely be on board.
100%.
But again, for that truck to get 16 to 18, I mean, he called me and picked it up, did like a 300-mile trip bringing it home. And while he was driving it, he was like, dude, I got 16.4 miles to the gallon running almost 82.
It's amazing.
I mean,
that's a lot better than mine got. I can tell you that.
Is the Raptor R two-wheel drive shift on the fly? Or
yes, two-wheel drive.
That's another big advantage.
Going two-wheel drive.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's where I wish Ram would bring two-wheel drive to the Raptor or the RHO and the TRX. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a big bummer that they don't do that, in full fairness. But I love the Raptor R. I think that motor, from a performance and the sound, I've never heard a V8 that I've owned rev up like the Raptor R. That thing screams to redline. It's totally different than the TRX. The 6.2's got that big hit low end, and it's still fast, sounds amazing. I love it. But it signs off at 550, 500 RPMs, where the Raptor R just keeps, it's an animal, and it's because of the coyote nature. But to the point you guys said earlier about the 5.0, the part of the 5.0 is that dual overhead cam, small displacement. Man, until it hits, it just doesn't have that big block push rod V8 feeling that you get with the 6.2 Hellcat.
Now, I want to say this too, because I'm kind of reading the comments. You know, people say when you buy that truck, you know, miles per gallon doesn't matter, okay? And it does and it doesn't. If you're not driving it, it's your weekend truck that you're out driving. But if you're using that truck as a daily driver, I can tell you those big V8s in town, if you're doing any idling in car lines, either one of them, right? It's going to sit there and drink. Like, it'll drink 1/8 of a tank of fuel if you're sitting in a car line for 30 or 40 minutes, right? And you know, they say it's not that much money, but when you take and look at, you're filling up with premium at $115 every other day, you know, for like a 70-mile commute.
Brutal.
It's a significant number. Mm-hmm. So just to be real about it, I've owned the TRX before. I know what that number is. And so anyway.
Yep. Good point. Well, I think we covered a lot of great topics today. Talked about how much dealerships make on a deal, what we can be excited about, what tools. The one thing I think we could maybe spend another few more minutes on adding is what tools we can use to get the best deal. My typical go-to is try to give yourself options. Try to find a few different vehicles you could live with, because the more options you have, the more leverage you have. Do your research on the dealership websites first, and see what they've got in inventory available. I also recommend go to the dealership after hours so you don't get bugged if you don't want to talk to a salesperson. And here's my last thing. If you don't have a dealership that you don't know, I go on Google and I look at Google reviews. And if I see a dealership that their Google reviews are either maybe low amount of reviews, or if I see a 4.2, 4.3 rating for a dealership, probably some red flags in there. And then I'll click at newest reviews, and then I'll look for trends. Are people complaining because their service department sucks? Or are they complaining that it's some shady sales tactics? Or do you see some comments that they keep hearing about Paul or Max are phenomenal salespeople and low pressure in there. And that will be like, I'll call the dealership and I'll be like, hey, I want to talk to Paul or Max. That's my theory on how I select from a random dealership. I don't know. You guys got any other tips you guys want to share as far as tools?
I think, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, just do the research too. Knowledge is power. When it comes to tools, knowledge is the most important one. If you have that, if you know what your trade value is and what it's going to be, if you know what the vehicle you're looking at is going for at other dealerships, if you go look at, like, again, on KBB, things like this, they tell you how much people are spending. You get that little chart that goes, like, even on Car Gurus or Cars.com, tells you how much people are paying. Carfax, do the research so that you know everything about it when you're going in. That way that knowledge is there. They can't sideswipe you. They're not going to play games with you, and you'll know when they're trying to play games with you. And you know when it's time to just say, you know what, I'm done with you. I'm sorry. I'm going to a different dealership. You're playing too much here with me, and I don't even want to go any farther. But knowledge is power. It's worth literally the hour and a half to 2 hours ahead of time to get yourself dialed into what you're up against.
And I think y'all said it earlier. You just walk into a dealership, not thinking about your trade, but think about the vehicle you're purchasing. What the price is, what you want it to be. Look at the market value of it. At other places, kind of know what your number is when you walk into it. But the other thing you've got to be real about is be real about what your vehicle's worth, right? Well, I went to KBB and it said it was worth this. Okay, well, your tires are bald. You got 2 nicks in the windshield. You know what I mean? Like, probably hasn't had an oil change in a year. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be real with that number, right? The driver of your mirror. Well, I've got this aftermarket, and really, y'all, aftermarket stuff doesn't mean anything to dealers. It doesn't, because it looks good to you, doesn't look good to the next person, right? They want that vehicle as stock as they can get it. And y'all know, like, we build what we call a lot of the trucks with stock wheels, and we just put tires on them. The reason is, a lot of times we can put the stock tires back on them, trade them in.
Yep.
Right. You can walk away from. So trying to keep your vehicle as close to stock as you can, or returning it back to stock when you turn it back in, actually adds the value back to it. Where you think some of that stuff adds value, it really doesn't.
Yep. One last point I'd add to that is I found if I'm selling a vehicle outright or trading it in, I try to make sure that I can't let the dealer or anybody find one issue with my vehicle. I'll make sure the brakes feel good, the interior doesn't have a smoke smell, dog hair, the windows no crack, tire, because if this thing's flawless, I know I'm in a better position than another competitive vehicle for sale, and they can't use it against me for leverage. And to be fair, especially if you're selling outright, a lot of people are going to be strapped to buy your vehicle as is. And if you give them a vehicle that, like, now they got to go spend $1,000 on tires, you're just making the whole deal and value proposition harder. And sometimes people will pay more if you've got a turnkey solution that's just ready to go. They don't mind that inconvenience.
Spending $100 to $200 on a detail before you take it in to get appraised, depending on how clean your vehicle is, can really make a difference in what the value is. Yeah, you're going to have to put $100, $200 in it to get it really cleaned up and nice. But if that vehicle looks really good when you go to trade it in, you're going to do better on getting the value out of it.
Great point.
Yeah, I would say what JB was talking about earlier is I think people need to just be more honest with themselves and families and everything about, like, what do you really need? Do you really need most of the trucks and things we've talked about on here? Like, maybe the top 1% can truly afford any of this stuff and still be set up for retirement. And if you go buying $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 trucks and you're not really set up for retirement, or your outlook doesn't look good over the next 15, 20 years, you probably shouldn't be buying it. And it's just like, maybe a minivan is better. It's like, it's ugly, but at the end of the day, I can't even count how many new cars I've bought where 3 months down the road, the feeling you have at the dealership when you first get it versus 3 months down the road when it's like dirty with mag chloride on it and someone dents it in the parking lot, you're like, this payment kind of just pisses me off at this point.
You're almost better to like scratch it immediately.
Yeah. And some of the most useful point A to point B cars we've had are the ugliest, like Honda Odyssey minivan or something. And we got them and we just abused them, and they were perfect for our family. It's like,
you don't feel
much
bad.
Better. Yeah. And we still loaded, like, I finished a basement and loaded like 5 or 6 doors, like full doors with frames in the back of that minivan at a time, more than I could probably put in a truck bed, because you you just remove the seats and you can use that thing like a construction vehicle. And I don't know, people can get by with a lot less than what they see us doing or people on YouTube and their friends doing. And I think that's just always a good reminder when you're buying something.
You know what? You bring up an awesome point. I was just going to say, Car Guy, is you should do a video series on how you've maxed out vehicles, and that would be hilarious. Like just putting like 5,000 pounds of payload in a minivan, dragging the bumper.
I just posted my Sequoia. I posted the the topsoil I had in the back of it. I had like 1,500 pounds of topsoil in the back of that thing.
On the roof of it?
No, in the back, and I closed it up. Still had my fishing poles up top too, so I could go eat something and lock the car if I needed to. No one's gonna steal my stuff.
Hey, we got to thank Tim Smith here. Thank you so much. Good collab. Came in late. Yes, JB is still the man.
It's funny he mentioned the Honda Odyssey. I wanted to say this because I got one of those for like a year, and back when, probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and that thing got great mileage. You didn't have to worry about anybody in the door. You could push the buttons and everybody could hop in it. We took that thing to, Houston all the time. It got good fuel mileage. It was very comfortable, and it rode like a Cadillac. I mean, just talking a minivan anyway, but it was pretty cool.
Yep.
People don't like them though, man. They're not cool.
Mm-hmm. Mud tires and lift on it. Maybe we can talk Ram into putting a Hellcat engine in a Pacifica.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, I think this is a great time. I don't know, you guys got any final closing comments?
Well, I wanted to say real quickly, for good car buying advice, never forget your wife. Remember, your wife doesn't want you to have the truck, right? She'll probably talk the dealership down more than you will. Just saying. Because when we go to buy houses, I'm in charge. When we go to buy cars, she is, because
hilarious.
I want it badly, and when I want a truck, so I have to ask her first, obviously, because we want to do things together. When we go to buy the house, she's like the lay down too, so I have to say, "Hey, hold on, let's go slow here."
That's you guys awesome. Check the emotional aspects for each other. Lock them down.
It does work, and you can have fun with it too. Because sometimes I'll be like, "Hey guys, my wife said no. Well, you guys do anything else for trade-in value?" Just to try to work it a little bit. So have a little fun, and then a
lot of truth there. Keep the emotion down. It's awesome. Cool. Well, that's it for me, guys. You guys, any last comments? Feel free. This will go live on the channel for any of us that are connected. You'll see it on any of the channels. So I appreciate everyone jumping in. And Tim Smith, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out all these channels: Rocky Road, Texas Toy, Car Guy bringing Dateline and his awesome stuff that he's doing. It's awesome. I love the stuff you're doing right now. Yeah, you got like the
style, man. Stuff. It's pretty good, actually. Yeah. If you think about it, that's 60
pretty minute
deep dive, man.
Deep dive.
I
love it.
Like Barbara Jason Walters, is that who I'm turning into?
Yeah, you are. You're Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
You got Jason bringing all kinds of stuff, and JB now doing this heavy towing. And it's a lot of fun. Look forward to doing this with you guys all again. Hope everybody enjoyed.
Yep. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Yep.